Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Monday Night Raw tonight was from the MVP Arena in Albany, New York, and the show just ended. And Monday Night Raw tonight, as always, boring show, terrible, just absolutely abysmal in my opinion. But tonight we had two Money in the Bank qualifying matches. WWE already building towards Money in the Bank, which is going to be in London. So we had Ricochet versus The Miz, Money in the Bank qualifying match. We saw Indus, Veer, and Sangha. They ended up taking on these local jobbers. We had Imperium, Giovanni Vinci, and Ludwig Kaiser versus the Alpha Academy, Chad Gable, and Otis. The Women's Tag Team Championship was on the line in a Women's Fatal 4-Way, where it was Raquel Rodriguez and Shotzi defending the titles against Shayna Baszler, Ronda Rousey, Sonya Deville, Chelsea Green, and Damage Control, Bayley, and Io Sky. We had Dolph Ziggler versus JD McDonagh 2 weeks later, since JD McDonagh was written off last week's show. And we also had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Bronson Reed, Money in the Bank qualifying match. And in the main event, it was Seth Rollins and AJ Styles versus Damian Priest and Finn Balor. But overall, Monday Night Raw, absolutely boring, terrible show it was tonight. But didn't watch Night of Champions, but I did read the results, and I gotta say, the results, very predictable, in my opinion. At least Asuka won the Raw Women's Championship and defeated Bianca Belair. So that's, that's good because now the Raw Women's title is back on Monday Night Raw. Of course, Rhea Ripley, defeated Natalya for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Even though she's a Raw superstar, even though Rhea Ripley is a Raw superstar, we still have the SmackDown title, the SmackDown Women's title on Monday Night Raw. And then, Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles for the World Heavyweight Championship. Obviously, we all knew Seth Rollins was going to win. Trish Stratus versus Becky Lynch. Trish Stratus ended up winning the match. She ended up getting help from Zoe Stark. So Trish Stratus won against Becky Lynch. Gunther beat Mustafa Ali. Gunther still retains the Intercontinental Championship. Obviously, that was going to be a squash match there. So Brock Lesnar, of course, defeated Cody Rhodes. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn end up defeating Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. They retained the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. Of course, Jimmy ended up turning on Roman, which allowed Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to deliver the stunner and the Luva kick to Solo Sikoa, and they retained the titles. So Jimmy ended up turning on Roman. But people say that the show was good, but just by reading the results, I could say this sounded like a very predictable show in Saudi Arabia. But anyways, that's for my thoughts on Night of Champions. So let's jump right into the review. Monday Night Raw opened up tonight with Seth Rollins, the new World Heavyweight Champion. Monday Night Raw, good now that it has a world title, since Roman had been holding the titles hostage, and Roman has now hit 1,000 days as champion, which his 1,000 days was on Saturday. But obviously we knew that Roman was going to get to 1,000 days as champion. So Seth made his way down to the ring. He made his way down through the crowd, just like how he did when he was part of the Shield. So we got into the ring, and the crowd gave him a big ovation. They were singing along to the song, oh. And then streamers, shot out. So the fans were chanting, "You deserve it," to Rollins. So Rollins got on the mic. He ended up saying that he is the World Heavyweight Champion. He wanted to say that it has been a long road to get here, but standing tonight, it just feels right. And Seth Rollins, he was wearing these glasses, and what heels was he wearing? His heels that he was wearing looked like zebra heels. I mean, I'm like, what do you take those heels from? Becky's closet? Is Becky still dressing him? So Seth ended up saying that he wants to focus on the future because finally, Monday Night Raw has a champion that wants to be on the show, a champion that is going to be on the show, and a champion that is ready for a fight. So the fans there in Albany started chanting, "Thank you, Seth." Seth ended up saying that he wants all the fights, and he is going to stay in the ring with the World Heavyweight Championship around his waist every week, and the world singing his song. So then AJ Styles' music ended up hitting. AJ Styles came out when he is a SmackDown superstar. I guess the brand split doesn't matter and the draft is pointless. This is like the wild card all over again. The wild card rule. So Styles got into the ring. He was face to face with Rollins. He ended up saying that he knows he is supposed to be on SmackDown. His explanation as to why he came to Raw tonight was to congratulate Seth Rollins. So Styles ended up telling Rollins that he gave him everything he had. And that it was almost like Seth knew what he was going to do before he did it. And we had the crowd end up saying that Seth deserves it. And Styles ended up telling Rollins that he doesn't think he deserves it. Styles then ended up telling Rollins that he earned the right to be World Heavyweight Champion. So the fans were singing along to Seth's, theme song, oh. And then Rollins ended up telling Styles he is not good at these things. But after the beating he gave him at Night of Champions, he has earned this. Seth then extended his hand out for AJ Styles to shake. And Styles ended up shaking Rollins' hand. So both guys ended up shaking hands in the middle of the ring. And then the Judgment Day ended up coming out. Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest, Balor, and Dominic. So Balor ended up saying that this is making him want to puke. Priest ended up saying that he is feeling nauseous and they should turn this more positive. So Rhea Ripley ended up saying that the Judgment Day, they run Monday Night Raw. Of course, typical Judgment Day, promo here. They come out, they start bitching. Rhea Ripley ends up saying, "Oh, we run Monday Night Raw." So Damian Priest ended up saying that after watching the Bloodline implode, without a shadow of a doubt, the Judgment Day run the entire WWE. So Balor ended up saying that they beat the Undisputed Tag Team Champions, which is something Roman Reigns couldn't even do. So Rhea ended up telling Rollins from the champion to just another one, and that he shouldn't get too comfortable with it, because one of them will take the World Heavyweight Championship off of him. So Balor and Damian Priest ended up saying that it could be one of them. Rhea ended up saying that, it could be her Dom. So the fans end up booing loudly for Dom. And that's when Rollins and Styles end up laughing at Rhea. And Dominic ended up telling Styles that he beat him. Balor ended up saying that they saw them beat each other half to death at Night of Champions. So Dom ended up saying, but the Judgment Day will finish the job tonight. Styles ended up saying that it almost sounds like they challenged them. So Rollins ended up accepting. Seth ended up telling them any two of the Judgment Day against himself and Styles. And this is his show, Monday Night Rollins. So pretty much that was basically how the segment ended. But overall, I thought this was a decent segment to open Monday Night Raw. Seth Rollins coming out there. He's a new World Heavyweight Champion. He wants to prove that he wants to be a champion that is ready for a fight, and that he's going to be on the show. And Styles coming out there, giving respect to Rollins after their match on Saturday. And then your typical Judgment Day promo. They come out, they start bitching. Like I said, Rhea Ripley ends up saying, "Oh, the Judgment Day, we run Monday Night Raw." Typical Judgment Day promo. But overall, it was a good opening to Monday Night Raw. Gotta go for the Snapple tonight. Lemon tea. So one of my favorite Snapple flavors. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Adam Pearce was backstage. He was on the phone, and he ended up seeing Rollins and Styles together. Rollins ended up telling Styles not to embarrass himself. Styles ended up pinning towards not wanting the match. But Adam Pearce ended up telling Rollins and Styles he is trying to get the match official. He ended up asking Styles if he has his gear, to which Styles ended up telling Pearce that he is a professional. He has his gear. So Styles and Rollins end up walking away. Pearce continued to talk on the phone, and he ended up making the match official. So it will be Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles, taking on two opponents of the Judgment Day, which we all knew who it was, when I described it, earlier. But, the whole, can they coexist, with Rollins and Styles, in the tag team match. And then we had the first match of the night, which was the Money in the Bank qualifying match, Ricochet versus The Miz. This was a solid match here. Ricochet delivered a kick to the side of Miz's head. The Miz ended up falling to the outside. Ricochet was on the ring apron. He ended up kicking Miz in his face. And Ricochet followed that up with a shooting star to the Miz. So Ricochet threw Miz back into the ring. Miz came back, ended up hitting Ricochet with a Hurricanrana, which was followed up by a boot to Ricochet's face. Ricochet then rolled to the outside. Miz grabbed him, and Miz ended up slamming Ricochet into the commentary table. Miz ended up throwing Ricochet back to the ring. He climbed to the top rope. Miz then delivered a double axe to Ricochet. He ended up going for the cover, and Ricochet ended up kicking out. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Miz was in control of the match. Miz delivered double knees onto Ricochet, which Miz followed that up with a DDT. Miz ended up going for the cover, and Ricochet ended up kicking out. So both Ricochet and Miz got back up. Ricochet delivered a kick to the Miz's face. He then grabbed Miz and slammed him down onto the mat. Ricochet climbed to the top rope, and he ended up landing the shooting star press to the Miz. So Ricochet ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Ricochet ended up winning the match. So Ricochet is now in the men's Money in the Bank match. But overall, this was a solid match here between Ricochet and The Miz. There was good wrestling from Ricochet here. Miz, of course, is Miz. So, but I said solid match it was. And then we had Trish Stratus. Trish Stratus made her way down to the ring, and Trish got on the mic, She ended up saying that she doesn't care about the fans and what they say, because the fans were booing Trish. She was wearing a "Thank you, Trish," this jacket, because it said on the back "Thank you, Trish" on it. And Trish ended up saying she hates to say "I told you so," but I told you so. She ended up saying that she was going to go to Night of Champions and beat Becky Lynch, and that is what she did. So Trish ended up saying that this is greatest of all time things. This is what you do when you are number one, when you are it. So Trish ended up saying now Becky can crawl back in her dark hole and go do her stuff. The stuff that everyone goes through. And it will give a chance to the real superstars to have a shot. She ended up saying real superstars like the one who had her back at Night of Champions. Trish ended up saying not that she needed the help, but she wanted to help. Someone that reminds her of herself. So then Trish ended up introducing Zoe Stark. Zoe Stark ended up coming out. She was wearing a "Thank You Trish" t-shirt. She made her way down, and Zoe got on the mic. She ended up saying that she came into WWE to be the best and to make a statement. She ended up saying who better to learn from than the OG herself, Trish Stratus. She ended up saying that she could have taken the long, hard, difficult road like Becky Lynch, or she could be smart and be with Trish Stratus. Zoe ended up saying that Trish is so giving, humble, and kind. And now that she has the floor, she would just like to say one thing. To which Zoe ended up saying, "Thank you, Trish." So Zoe ended up asking Trish what's on her face, because Trish had a bruise that was near her jaw. The bruise was like over here. And Trish ended up telling Becky not to show her face. So Becky Lynch ended up coming out. Becky Lynch was wearing this yellow and black attire as she came down, in her gear. So Becky on the mic, she ended up telling Zoe Stark that she will ruin her life and that Trish is still in her gear. Becky ended up saying that she is still in hers. Becky then ended up telling Trish to restart the match and finish it one-on-one. So Zoe Stark then left the ring. Becky ended up hitting Zoe Stark with her right hand. She ended up throwing her into the barricade. Becky got into the ring. She ended up hitting Trish with a shoulder tackle. Zoe Stark got on the ring apron, and Becky ended up knocking Zoe Stark down. Becky then delivered some right hands on Trish. Zoe Stark got into the ring, and Trish and Zoe ended up double teaming on Becky Lynch. Zoe then ended up hitting Becky with the Z360 in the middle of the ring. And Trish then delivered a right hand to Becky. So both Zoe Stark and also Trish Stratus, they ended up placing Becky in the corner. Zoe Stark ended up taking off her "Thank You Trish" shirt, and they placed it on top of Becky. And pretty much that was basically how the segment ended. But this segment was fucking awful. Absolute cringe. So we're going to be getting 2 more matches. Probably going to get one at Money in the Bank. And of course at SummerSlam. Please, let's move on from this. I don't care with Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch. I don't fucking care. Really don't. I'd say it was a decent beatdown from Zoe Stark and Trish Stratus to Becky Lynch, but overall the segment was awful and cringe. Yeah, we move on from that, and then we go to Indus, Veer and Sangha, accompanied by Jinder Mahal, versus these local jobbers. Can you take a guess who won? If you said Indus, ding ding ding, you win nothing. Squash match. Veer and Sangha won the match. Moving on. We had Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. They came out to the ring. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens retained the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship at Night of Champions, defeating Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns, which we all knew that Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns weren't going to win the titles. It would not make any sense by putting another set of titles around Roman. So Sami Zayn got on the mic. He kept saying, obviously, him and Kevin Owens are feeling pretty good because at Night of Champions, they won and retained their titles. He kept saying not just defending the titles, but they won. They did what they set out to do. He kept saying they watched the bloodline crumble, and Roman deserves everything he got. Sami Zayn ended up saying that he can main event the next WrestleMania, be champion for another 1,000 days, enter the Hall of Fame tomorrow, but when he will look at them, he will know that they won. So Imperium's music ended up hitting. We had Gunther, Ludwig Kaiser, Giovanni Vinci. They made their way out. Kaiser does his "Ladies and Gentlemen." So Kaiser ended up saying that it was an impressive victory. But was it the most impressive victory of the night? He ended up saying that it was not more impressive than the man who extended his record-setting Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship reign in Gunther. So Kevin Owens ended up asking Imperium why they are here. Owens ended up saying that this is not the Wild West and that they can't just come out without anyone saying their name. So Kevin Owens was going crazy saying, "Oh, this is not supposed to happen. This is not supposed to happen." Sami Zayn ended up calming him down. Sami Zayn ended up saying that it is an unwritten rule and that they shouldn't come out, that Imperium shouldn't come out. So he ended up saying that the last time that they faced them, they beat them and embarrassed them. Kaiser ended up telling Sami Zayn that Matt Riddle is an embarrassment. He kept saying them holding the titles is an absolute embarrassment, and that they are not worthy to stand on the mat, to hold the championships, and to represent Monday Night Raw. Kevin Owens ended up saying they always hear from Slender Men, and sometimes the one with the ears, to which the Slender Men he was talking to, Ludwig Kaiser, and the one with the ears he was talking about Gunther, and he kept saying that he wants to hear what the bald one has to say. Of course, he was talking about Giovanni Vinci. So Sami Zayn started a baldy chant, cringe. You had the whole crowd end up chanting baldy to Giovanni Vinci. So Kaiser ended up shutting them down, ended up saying that no one disrespects them. And then all of a sudden we hear, "Shush!" Oh my God. What a long, cringe shush from Chad Gable. God, it was so awful. Maybe my ears want to bleed from that loud shush. So we had Chad Gable, Otis, and Maxine Dupree on the stage. Chad Gable ended up saying they are the new and improved Alpha Academy. Of course, Maxine Dupree accompanying them. And I'm like, still no explanation as to why Maxine Dupree is not with Marseille and Mansoir, the Maximum Male Models. So Chad Gable ended up telling Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn if it's fine with them, and that they were going to hand out a lesson to Imperium right now. Kevin Owens ended up asking Chad Gable to say the thing, the word he says kind of funny, that makes him laugh. So Chad Gable then raised his hand, and of course he goes, "Oh, thank you." Awful. God awful. First, the shush. That long shush from Chad Gable. Ear-inducing cringe. And then in the end goes, "Oh, thank you." Fucking cringe. Absolutely awful. And then we had Imperium versus Alpha Academy. And this was a meh match in my opinion. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were on commentary during the match, which Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn on commentary and all that they were saying was better than the match. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were hilarious on commentary. So Chad Gable and Ludwig Kaiser start off the match. Both guys end up delivering some reversals. Chad Gable ended up going for the cover. Kaiser kicked out. Both Gable and Kaiser got to their feet. Kaiser delivered a right hand to Gable. Kaiser ended up going for a hip toss, but Gable ended up reversing that into a hip toss of his own to Kaiser. Vinci got into the ring. Chad Gable ended up taking both Vinci and Kaiser down. Vinci and Kaiser rolled to the outside. And we had Valhalla at ringside. Valhalla was looking at Maxine Dupree. Valhalla ended up chasing Maxine as Maxine ended up hitting Valhalla with a kick to the side of her head. Valhalla ended up chasing Maxine to the back. So it looks like we're possibly going to begin Valhalla versus Maxine Dupree at some point. So Vinci ended up tagging in, and Vinci and Kaiser ended up double teaming on Chad Gable. Fans were chanting Baldy as Vinci ended up hitting Gable a chop to his chest, which was followed up by a body slam. Kaiser was then tagged back in. Gable ended up kicking Kaiser to the outside. In came Vinci, and Chad Gable ended up throwing him to the outside. Gable then made the tag to Otis. Otis came in. Otis knocked both Kaiser and Vinci down. Otis delivered a splash onto Kaiser in the corner. And Otis did the caterpillar onto Kaiser. And Otis ended up going for the cover. Vinci broke up the pin. Otis then threw Vinci to the outside. Otis then tagged in Chad Gable. Otis ended up running to the ropes. Vinci lowered the ropes, and Otis ended up falling to the outside. Vinci tagged in, and they double teamed on Chad Gable. Vinci ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Imperium ended up winning the match. Overall, very meh match it was. Like I said, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn on commentary during the match was better than the match itself. And then we had Kathy Kelly. Kathy Kelly was backstage with Smiley Raquel in her pearly whites, Raquel Rodriguez, and Shotzi. So in came Bayley and Io Sky of Damage Control. Bayley ended up telling Raquel and Shotzi that they are not Damage Control and that they dedicate their match to Dakota Kai, which Dakota Kai is out with an injury. So Raquel ended up saying they were good enough to beat them last Friday on SmackDown. And that Bayley is the only member of Damage Control not to hold gold. So pretty much that was basically that. And then Raquel and Shotzi made their way out for the women's Fatal 4-Way match for the Women's Tag Team Championship. So it was Raquel and Shotzi versus Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler versus Chelsea Green, or Samantha Irvin says, Chelsea Green! And Sonya Deville versus Bayley and Io Sky. This match was boring. Absolutely boring. And obviously predictable. Because we all knew who was going to win the match. So the match got underway. Raquel and Bayley started off the match. Raquel delivered a right hand to Bayley. Io Sky then tagged in. She ended up hitting Raquel with a drop kick. So we had Io end up delivering some forearms to Raquel. And Bayley was tagged back into the match. both Io and Bayley end up double teaming on Raquel in the corner. Bayley end up grabbing Raquel, and Raquel end up getting Bayley on her shoulders. Bayley ended up landing on her feet, and Raquel delivered a waistlock takedown to Bayley. Bayley then tagged in Chelsea Green, to which Chelsea didn't even want to get in the match. She was like, no, no, no. So then Raquel ended up throwing Chelsea over the top rope and got her into the ring. Chelsea ended up going to tag Ronda or Shayna, but Ronda and Shayna end up moving out of the way. Wanted, nothing to do with Chelsea tagging, either of them in. So Raquel ended up throwing Chelsea into Shayna Baszler and to the outside. Shotzi then tagged in, and she ended up delivering a suicide dive on the outside. And as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Shayna started stomping on Shotzi's left arm in the middle of the ring. She ended up throwing Shotzi into the corner. Shotzi ended up hitting Ronda with some right hands. Shayna then grabbed Shotzi, and Shotzi ended up hitting Shayna with a neck breaker. Raquel was then tagged in. She ended up knocking Shayna down. Raquel knocked Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green off the ring apron. Raquel ended up grabbing Shayna, ended up hitting her with a fallaway slam. She delivered 2 fallaway slams, and then the second fallaway slam she delivered, Shayna Baszler was in her corner, and Ronda ended up tagging in. Ronda came in. She delivered some right hands, but Raquel ended up pushing her away, and Raquel ended up hitting Ronda with a clothesline. Raquel ended up lifting Ronda up, and Shayna ended up getting in the ring. She ended up pulling Ronda down. Raquel ended up slamming Shayna down, and Ronda locked in the armbar on Raquel in the middle of the ring. Bayley ended up going off the top rope. She ended up breaking up the armbar with an elbow drop off the top rope. Chelsea Green tagged herself, and she ended up throwing Ronda into the ring post. Sonya then ended up kicking Ronda's arm. Sonya tagged herself in. She delivered a running knee onto Raquel. She ended up going for the cover. Raquel ended up kicking out. So Chelsea Green tagged in. She climbed the second rope. Io Sky ended up tagging herself in, and she pushed Chelsea down. Io delivered a double drop kick onto Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. She delivered a double knees onto Raquel, and she ended up going for the cover. Shotzi broke up the pin. Bayley got into the ring, and Shotzi ended up throwing her to the outside. Shotzi then delivered a suicide dive onto Bayley on the outside. Shotzi was then, tagged in. Io ended up hitting Shotzi with a face buster, followed up by a suplex. So Io ended up climbing the second rope. Ronda tagged herself in. Shotzi got up. She ended up powerbombing Io, who in turn suplexes Ronda off the top rope, which was, pretty cool. So Shotzi was on the top rope. She ended up jumping, and Ronda ended up getting her into an armbar, which was locked in, and Shotzi ended up tapping out. So there you go. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler win the match, and they are the new Women's Tag Team Champions. Obviously knew it was going to happen. Obviously knew that Ronda and Shayna were going to win the titles. So, Liv Morgan and Raquel just held the titles until Ronda, would come back. So, there you go. New Women's Tag Team Champions, and I don't care. Nobody in the crowd even cared as well. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we had Dolph Ziggler versus JD McDonagh. JD McDonagh was not on Monday Night Raw last week because he was written off. This match should have happened last week. But we got it this week. And this match was just, in my opinion. This went nowhere. So the match got underway. Dolph Ziggler delivered a right hand to JD McDonagh. He ended up going for a splash in the corner, but McDonagh moved out of the way. McDonagh delivered a modified suplex to Dolph. He ended up throwing Dolph to the outside. McDonagh ended up throwing Dolph over the commentary table. He grabbed Dolph and threw him into the ring steps. McDonagh ended up repeatedly throwing Dolph into the ring steps as the ref called for the bell. McDonagh placed Dolph's head on the ring steps, and he stomped on Dolph's head, and pretty much that was basically that. The match ended in a double countout. So, for 2 weeks, they were building to this, and this went nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. So, but surprisingly, we're going to get a rematch with these two. Whoopee! But I'd like to see JD McDonagh, be a part of the Judgment Day, because if you remember 2 weeks ago, when JD McDonagh was leaving the arena, we saw Finn Balor. Balor was, the trainer for McDonagh. You saw Balor there. He was staring at McDonagh. Obviously, makes sense into WWE putting JD McDonagh in the Judgment Day. He could be the new member of the Judgment Day. But match went nowhere here. Double count out, moving on. So then we got Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes came to the ring. He had his arm in a sling. He got into the ring. He ended up asking the crowd what they want to talk about. Typical Cody. He ended up saying, due to referee stoppage, he lost his match against Brock Lesnar at Night of Champions. He ended up saying that they told him he was foolish to fight Lesnar with one hand, that he was crazy not to tap out. Cody ended up saying that he didn't tap out because that's not the man he wants to be. He ended up saying years ago he probably would have tapped out and lived to fight another day. He ended up saying he knows that some days the second chances don't present themselves. Cody ended up saying that there was a widely popular superstar who used to once say, never give up. But he has a question for Brock Lesnar. He ended up saying that he assumes that Lesnar has taken his annual vacation. Cody ended up asking Lesnar if he is satisfied with this being done. He ended up saying that they have victories against each other. It's 1-1, and he is satisfied. Cody ended up telling Lesnar to consider this an open challenge. He ended up saying to Lesnar, I hope you have social media. I hope you have cable and a landline in Saskatchewan. So he ended up saying that he will post his whole schedule. And if he is standing in the ring, he is standing ready to fight Brock Lesnar. Cody ended up saying that Lesnar is an elite amateur wrestler who won the NCAA twice. He's a former UFC heavyweight champion and likely future UFC Hall of Famer, and that he broke The Undertaker's streak. He ended up saying that Lesnar is the beast. He is beast enough to break his arm, but not man enough to make him tap out. Cody ended up saying that if Lesnar does not accept his challenge, Brock Lesnar is afraid of what cannot be broken. So Cody ended up saying that Brock Lesnar is afraid of him. So Cody ended up throwing the mic, and pretty much that was basically that. But overall, let's move on from this Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar feud. Still no explanation as to why Brock Lesnar went after Cody Rhodes. Still no explanation, zero logic, zero of this making any sense. Where's the explanation? Still none. Are we going to get an explanation out of all this? Probably not. We need to move on from this Cody and Brock Lesnar feud. Looks like we're going to get another match out of these two, and possibly another match at SummerSlam. But yeah, let's move on from this feud here. Then we saw Kathy Kelly. Kathy Kelly was backstage with Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle ended up telling Kathy Kelly with Money in the Bank right around the corner to imagine if he wins it, catches in on Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins. So in came Gunther. Gunther ended up telling Riddle congratulations and good luck on his upcoming opportunity. Gunther ended up telling Riddle that he really wants him to win Money in the Bank and to cash it in on himself so he could beat him, humiliate him. So Gunther then ended up walking away, and that was basically that. And as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Kathy Kelly was now backstage with the new Women's Tag Team Champions, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. Ronda ended up telling Kathy Kelly that for 10 years, her and Shayna have been told they are not what people wanted. Shayna ended up saying that loyalty is everything, and they went through everyone, and they are the tag team champions. Not because they wanted it, but because they are the best team in the world. Pretty much that was basically that. But who cares? Nobody cares that they are the new women's tag team champions. Did not get one pop from the crowd there tonight. It was like crickets. And then we went to Shinsuke Nakamura versus Bronson Reed, Money in the Bank qualifying match. This was decent. We had the match starting off with Bronson Reed deliver some right hands to Nakamura, which was followed up by a body slam. Reed ended up running to the ropes. Nakamura rolled to the outside of the ring. Bronson Reed went to the outside as Nakamura got back to the ring. Bronson Reed went back to the ring. Nakamura delivered some right hands to Reed. Nakamura ended up running to the ropes. Reed ended up delivering a shoulder block, which was followed up by a splash and a spinning elbow to Nakamura. Reed then delivered a chop to Nakamura's chest. He ended up throwing Nakamura into the ropes. Nakamura came back, delivered a kick to Reed. Nakamura then placed Reed on the second rope. He ended up going for a release German suplex, but Reed ended up pulling onto the second rope. Nakamura went to the outside. He ended up kicking Reed and tripped him on the ring apron. Nakamura then delivered a knee to Reed's face, which was followed up by a knee to the back of Reed's head. And then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Bronson Reed was in control of the match. He ended up laying out a clothesline, which turned Nakamura inside out. So he ended up going for the cover. Nakamura kicked out. Reed ended up grabbing Nakamura, but Nakamura ended up hitting Reed with a kick to the side of his head. Nakamura placed Reed on the second rope, and he ended up hitting him with a release German suplex. Nakamura was ready to go for the Kinshasa, but Bronson Reed ended up hitting Nakamura with the Samoan drop. Reed climbed to the top rope. Nakamura got back up. He ended up kicking Reed and tripping him down. Nakamura was on the second rope. He jumped off the second rope, but Reed ended up hitting Nakamura with a kick. Reed then delivered a power slam. He climbed up to the top rope, and he ended up jumping off the top. Nakamura ended up moving out of the way. Nakamura delivered a kick to the back of Reed's head. Nakamura then ended up hitting Reed with the Kinshasa, and Reed then rolled to the outside of the ring. Nakamura ended up going to the outside. He ended up hitting Reed with a flying kick. Nakamura got back in the ring. Reed ended up getting back in the ring, and Nakamura ended up hitting him with the Kinshasa. Nakamura ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Shinsuke Nakamura ended up winning the match, and he is qualified to be in the Money in the Bank match. Overall, this was a decent match. I was surprised that Bronson Reed didn't win the match. I obviously wanted Bronson Reed to win and be in the Money in the Bank match there. But the match could have gone either way. But Nakamura winning, I don't mind. But I would have preferred Bronson Reed should have won the match and be in Money in the Bank. But like I said, the match could have gone either way. But still, it was a decent match between these two. And then we have Byron Saxton. Byron Saxton was backstage with the Judgment Day. He congratulated Rhea Ripley on her win against Natalya at Night of Champions. Rhea ended up saying Natalya should know better and to hold gold, and that she cannot get distracted. So Byron Saxton ended up asking them which two of them will face Seth Rollins and AJ Styles tonight. Balor ended up telling Saxton if he told him, he would have to. And we had Damian Priest end up cutting Balor off. He ended up telling Byron to go do his job somewhere else. So pretty much that was that. Main event. Seth Rollins and AJ Styles versus Damian Priest and Finn Balor. And this was a good main event here. So Dominic looked to begin the match with Rollins. So the bell ended up ringing. Balor then blindsided Rollins. And he revealed himself to be Damian Priest's real tag team partner. So Damian Priest was then tagged in. Rollins rolled to the outside of the ring. Rhea Ripley was posing. Seth put his arm around Rhea. Rhea ended up thinking that it was Dom putting his arm around her. So Rhea Ripley ended up realizing it was Rollins, and she ended up freaking out and yelling at Rollins, which I thought this was funny. Wondering what Becky thought of that, what Becky Lynch thought of that. What Seth's wife, Becky, thought of that. So Seth rolled into the ring. Priest ended up pinning Seth with a right hand. Priest ended up throwing Rollins in the corner, started stomping away on him. Priest then delivered a spinning elbow to Rollins as he ended up going for the cover, and Rollins kicked out. Rollins then ended up kicking Priest away. He tagged Styles in, and Finn Balor ended up tagging in, so Styles and Balor went at it. Styles then delivered some right hands. He ended up kicking onto Balor. Priest got into the ring, but Styles ended up hitting him on the leg. Rollins ended up getting in the ring, and Balor ended up throwing Rollins to the outside. And then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. So then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Damian Priest ended up throwing Styles to the outside. The referee was distracted as Dom was on the ring apron. He ended up going for a right hand to Styles, but Rollins ended up hitting Dom with a right hand. And we had Rollins ended up throwing Dom into the ring. So the referee ended up seeing this, and the ref ended up ejecting both Dominic and Rhea Ripley from ringside. So Styles then rolled Damian Priest up. Priest ended up kicking out. Styles then delivered an overhead kick to Priest. So now Seth Rollins and Finn Balor were tagged in. So Seth delivered a super kick to Priest. He ended up knocking Priest off the ring apron. Rollins then delivered a flying knee onto Priest on the outside. Seth got back on the ring apron. He jumped off the top rope. He ended up hitting Balor with a flying knee. So Rollins ended up going for the cover. Balor kicked out. Rollins ended up grabbing Balor, but Balor rolled up Rollins with an inside cradle, but Rollins kicked out. Balor then slammed Rollins onto the mat. He ended up going for the cover, and Rollins kicked out. Priest was then tagged in. He ended up knocking Styles off the ring apron. Priest ended up going for the South of Heaven, but Rollins ended up landing on his feet, and he delivered a right hand, but Priest ended up delivering a clothesline to Rollins. So Priest ended up going for the cover. Rollins kicked out. Priest climbed the top rope, as did Rollins. Balor ended up taking himself in. Rollins delivered a suplex, but Priest ended up hitting Rollins with the Falcon Arrow. Balor ended up going for the coup de grace, but Rollins ended up moving out of the way. He ended up hitting Balor with a super kick, so both Balor and Rollins were down. Styles ended up tagging in, as did Priest. So Styles and Priest went at it. Styles delivered a right hand and a kick to Priest. Styles was on the ring apron. He delivered a sliding knee onto Balor. Rollins then delivered a suicide dive onto Balor to the outside. Rollins ended up going for the phenomenal forearm. Priest ended up moving out of the way. And Priest ended up hitting Styles with the Razor's Edge. Priest ended up going for the cover. Rollins broke up the pin by hitting Priest with the stomp. So Rollins was then tagged in. He ended up hitting Priest with another stomp. and he ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Rollins and Styles ended up winning the match, and that was how Monday Night Raw went off the air. Overall, I thought this was a fun, decent match here. Rollins and Styles did coexist here. And a lot of people were saying, looks like maybe Styles might turn on Rollins. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So this was Rollins' first match as a new World Heavyweight Champion, and it was a tag team match. But Monday Night Raw tonight, just boring show, absolutely terrible in my opinion. Just 3 hours of the show is just draining. But next week on Monday Night Raw, we're going to see Chad Gable versus Ludwig Kaiser. And we're going to have 2 women's Money in the Bank qualifying matches. It's going to be Natalya versus Zoe Stark, which that sounds like, yeah. And then Becky Lynch versus Sonya Deville, Money in the Bank, women's Money in the Bank qualifying match. Yeah, 2 snooze fest women's Money in the Bank qualifying matches. Calling it now. Zoe Stark is going to win her qualifying match. Becky Lynch is going to win her qualifying match. So, those are my predictions. But anyways, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all Wednesday night for AEW Dynamite. So, till then, see you all on Wednesday.